Hello, everybody. This is Jay Haynes with the Film Sensei YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be playing in the toy box. I'm so excited to be doing that. Want to give a few shout outs. First of all, Farrah Films, how you doing? Good to have you. BR, I'm glad you're here. Art, welcome. And Vazio, good to have you guys. Oh, and 4K Productions in the house. Also, great to have everybody here. Last week, as you know, or actually yesterday, 2 days ago, whenever it was, I released a video on doing the Mixamo animation packs, and I got this question, and it is from Magic Wrestler 86. Like all your videos, but I'm really enjoying these past few with the animations. Very helpful. Any chance you could show how to make a basic background to drop these characters in? And I thought, oh, yeah, absolutely. Of course I can do that. So here I am in HitFilm. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't have my headphones on because I don't need to hear anybody doing anything. But leave a comment. Let me know if you can hear me. In HitFilm, I have basically started my stuff here. I have brought in some cement and some rock, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new composite shot. I guess I can just refer to this as being the final shot. Click OK. And I probably don't want that in there, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. Let's start with creating the floor. I'm going to use cement. Let's use my seamless cement. Let's just drag something in here. This is a 48 by 48. Or 2048 by 2048, I mean. What I'm going to do is right-click on it and make it into its own composite shot. I'm going to leave it as that and click OK. So there is that, right? And if I go back in the original, or even if I just find it here, I can refer to this as my floor. Okay, so there's the floor. And if I take that floor and I make it into a 3D plane, which will add a camera, I can just rotate this 90 degrees. And if I come up to the camera, I can lift the camera a little bit, and we're good to go. I see that before I go any further, let me just give a shout out here. A couple of more shout outs. Let's see. Wrench Reviews. Hey, good to have you, sir. And you guys can hear me. That's great. Awesome. Glad to hear it. Okay. So I have my floor set up here. The beauty of putting this into its own composite shot is that I can add a bunch of other, floors to it also. So, and then I could just change that, if I want it to be something different, it'll automatically update and change in the main shot, right? Also, if I want, I can add a grade layer and then put in a tile effect. And because these are all seamless, I can tile them to be exactly what I want them to be, right? So they could be, 50% tiled. I could 3 by 3 or 10 by 10 or whatever, right? I think I'll go, maybe 50% tile. So now, but because they're seamless, though, that works really well. And again, if I choose to, maybe show that one instead, then it's automatically tiled and ready to go, right? Kind of thing. The other thing I can do is, of course, if I want to use a regular cement, say, let's just drag that one in. I just drag it right over the top of everything. I can rescale it maybe a little bit or something. And it immediately updates itself right here also, right? So that's my floor. Now I do the same with the composite shot for, and let me just rename that floor. So now I could do the same with the composite shot for the back wall, right? So let me go with rock seamless, and let me just drag one in here. Okay. And again, what I will do is right click and pre-compose this, making it into its own composite shot. Click OK. And there it is. And I can rename that the wall. And again, I could tile that because it is seamless. So if I come back to the floor and just copy this grade layer, and then, whoops, sorry, paste it here. Now it's tiled, right? And it doesn't have to be. It could be regular or whatever, okay? And again, for the same thing, I can just grab a regular rock, you know, maybe that one, and drag it over the top of that. If I want to, I can resize it or whatever. When I come back into my final comp, I can rename that wall, and I will also make it 3D, right? So now I have this wall and comp. Let me, or floor together. Let me just make 3 views or 4 views. So I have a left view here of the scene. I have a top view, and then I have a front view. And of course, I have the camera view also. Looking good. So here's the thing. If I'm looking at, say, the top view, I want this wall to be back here, you know, right there. And if I open that up, you'll see right away that it has moved. It's actually, I want it to be negative 1024, right? And I'll just adjust the anchor point of it so that it's higher, negative 1024, right? And so the anchor point is sitting at the base of that wall, right? And then I would want to do the same with the floor. In other words, right now the anchor point's here in the middle. But if I were to open up, and remember that I rotated that 90 degrees, so I would want to adjust the, no, not that one. I would want to adjust this one where I'll slide it to 1024, and then I would move the position back negative 1024. So now the reason that I'm doing that, I'm putting the anchor points together there, is so that I can create a new point, 3D, and I'll just call this the scene scale. And if I go ahead and parent both of those to the scene scale, then I can quickly, you know, scale the, you know, adjust the size of that scene, right? In case I need to. So that's simple enough, right? Let's go back to one view. Now, of course, I would probably want to rig my camera, so I will create another point in 3D, and I'm just going to call this camera pivot, and I'll just parent the camera pivot to it, or the camera to that pivot point, I mean. And now if I rotate that camera pivot, I'm going to get the camera to rotate around. So, and here's how it works. Let me just pull a perspective view of this, and we'll just, you know, and so now you can see, you know, that as my camera is pivot point is moving, the camera's moving around. I'm getting a nice, you know, I can keyframe that to get a nice sort of different angles on that, right? So I might keyframe it there, go to the end of the time frame, and keyframe it, you know, there. So that way, as I scrub through the timeline, I can get different look at it, you know, all over, right? And that's pretty sweet. So now let's light the whole thing. So we're going to add a light, and let me look at it from the top point of view. You can see there's the light. We're going to call this the key light. This will be the main light. If I open it up, transform, I'll probably move it off to one side, move it up, move it back. So let's go negative 2000, 2000, 2000. So there it is. If I pull it up in the controls under light, maybe make it a directional light, because that's more even, like a sunlight shining on it, rather than a point or a light bulb, basically. And then if I maybe turn on, we'll wait on that. Let me do intensity of 50. And, you know, I definitely don't want it to be a pure white light, just a little bit something different. Okay, so there's that light. Now, if I duplicate that, I can call this the fill light. You know, basically setting up a 3-point lighting system, and I can move it over to the other side. You can change the sign of a number in HitFilm by just hitting Control and clicking on it, and then it moves it over to the other side. That's pretty neat. The fill light probably be about 30. So 50 plus 30 is 80. And I'll turn off, actually in the key light, I'll turn on the shadow, but in the fill light, I'll leave it off. Duplicate it one more time. Let's make this my backlight. And let's make this 0, and we'll just put it behind everything, 2000. So now, if you're looking at this from the perspective point of view again, you can see that I have all 3 lights here in the scene that are lighting everything. Back it up here a little bit, right? And I have my camera in the works. Oh, and you know what? The backlight I want to set to 20, so that way everything adds up to 100 or so. And I might, do a little bit of an ambient light. Whoops. Sorry about that. I think my audio disappeared. That's my bad. Sorry about that. My camera cut out. I don't know what happened, but hopefully it wasn't too long that it was gone. 2:13. Oh, it was only a few seconds probably. All right, so let me go back to my screen. In the process there, I just added this light flare, and I attached it to the hotspot position. I use the backlight, and so that way, when you move the camera, there's a light flare that is happening right here. Okay. Thanks for letting me know that my audio died there. Appreciate that. So now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a model in here just to see what it looks like. So I'm going to drag my model in above the floor. There she is. And before I actually change her, I'm going to look at it from the front view. You can see that she's not sitting on the floor. But before I change her, what I will do is I will add the animation. And I happen to have the Gangnam Style animation right there. After I've added the animation, now I can go ahead and change her anchor point, lifting her up so that she's just sitting on the floor there, like that. And then when I bring it back into the active camera, you can see now she's on the floor. But the problem is she's too big. So let's just, but see, since I put the anchor point on the floor, I can quickly be able to just adjust that, right? And I should have, since I have the lights already set up and everything, all I have to do now under her material properties is simply, I can remove her receiving shadows, but have her casting a shadow, and there's her shadow there, right? You can see it very, very clearly, right? The other thing, and this is something that is sort of important, and that is when you do parallax effect, it has illumination built in, okay? So because of that, it's now being sort of double lit, but it's not really double lit, it sort of half lights it. And I don't know why it makes it darker, but it makes it darker. So if you go under material and you take off the illumination there, then it will actually brighten up the thing. And I can do that with the wall also. This is something that you don't think about until, or if you don't even know it exists. So you turn on, if you're going to use a parallax lighting, go ahead and turn off the material illumination, and that will make the parallax lighting much better. Okay. And so now I have the texture on the floor, I have the texture on the wall, I have the shadow going. If I want, I can also add a reflection down here. And the way I would do that is say reflection, and I want Kajukin to cast reflection, and I want the floor to receive the reflection. And that's too much, so now I'm just going to have to really turn that down, right? But I just want a little bit of reflection, maybe, if I choose. And if it's too much, I can always turn back on the material lighting on the floor, and that will, whoops, wrong one, that will darken that down a bit. And then if I go ahead and do the reflection, I can up that somewhat, and it won't be as affected by, and this sort of gives it like a shine or a sheen on the floor. Maybe there's a little bit of water on the floor, stuff like that. Okay. Somebody asked me, this is sort of off topic, but somebody asked me, how would you string these together in one clean animation? And to be honest, the simplest way to do that is to go until when it ends, which is about right there. About there, because it's a 12:11 animation. 12 at 12:11, literally just chop it there, you know, and then start a new animation in a new one there. And you might have to match these, since this is the same animation and it begins and ends in the same place. I don't have to do that, so it would play, and she might stop and then start up again, and she's still going, you know. But if she had run or moved over here or something, then I would have to move this one over here to her starting point to match. And of course, it's important that, very important, that it would be important that they were in the same place. So if she started here and then went over there, I would want to start this one over here, and that she's basically in the same look or pose, you know, already. So if she ended in this pose, you want to find a frame in the next one where she looks in that same pose, kind of a thing. So there you go. Hey, Stoner, good to have you. Glad you're here. Hopefully that makes it easy enough. If you have any questions, feel free to you know, leave them in the comments. If you're watching this after the fact, definitely leave them in the comments. And I will answer them for sure. In the meantime, if you you know, if you have any other requests that you'd like to see, whether it's for a tutorial or for live, please feel free to fire away, ask me. I'd be happy to do it always. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe and all that stuff. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody showing up today, and thanks for watching.